Hello, world. Welcome to another week of Golf Subpar. Colt Knost and Drew Stoltz. And Sleaze, let's just get it out of the way. Congratulations on a much-needed victory at the Zurich Classic. You picked the team of Cam Smith and Mark Leishman.
Finally, all the cliches, all the inch by inch, brick by brick, all that talk finally paid off. Needed a dub, got a dub, back in the mix, made it a ball game. Finally picked the team with some heart, closed it out at the end. Did a little scary. Didn't know if we were going to need a playoff or not, but got it done at the end. But dude, that's a fun golf tournament. I feel like it's been weeks since we had a real shootout coming down the stretch that had some drama in it. This week had it, and that alternate shot format, I think, talking with my friends too, that is a fun format to watch. I don't know if once is enough for the year they add it another event like that, but it's fun to watch.
I think one team event is plenty. It mixes it up. It's fun. I think if you do it too often, it'll kind of just get a little old. But yeah, the alternate shot is awesome. You should send Louis Oosthuizen a little thank you note for blowing that one in the water there in the playoff.
Listening.
But, man, congratulations to Mark Leishman, Cam Smith, some of the favorites going in. Cam Smith, I mean, it's a joke how good this guy's short game is. It is impressive to watch and almost as impressive as that hair.
Oh, my God. Thing looks incredible. He told his girlfriend he was going to cut it if he got it when he won on the PGA Tour. Now he's won. We'll see if that actually happens. I would advise him against that because once you get the ball rolling in the right direction, don't mess with the mow. He's got juice out there. I mean, everything looks good. And when I was picking that team last week, I was like, what a nice safety blanket it is to have a guy like Cam Smith with that short game. You really can't put him in any bad spots where he's not going to give you a chance to get up and down. He did it over and over. But Leishman's short game not getting enough credit. He had some really cool shots out there. I mean, how bouncy was that? Place played awesome. It was bouncy. It was firm. He was taking out that little middle iron and just kind of hooding it a little, playing that hook shot, rolling it up stiff. That alternate shot, you got to have a couple dudes with some short games to get it done. But, man, they were rock solid all week. But that was just a fun tournament to watch. I loved it. I wish they'd put a team event maybe in the Olympics to add a little spice to that since nobody seems to really give that much love.
Yeah, it was a great idea by Zurich and the PGA Tour to make that a team event because it draws guys there because it's something different. It's fun. You don't get to play team golf that much unless you're the top players in the world. And now, if you're on the PGA Tour, you can experience it if you want. And New Orleans, such a great city. I was there all week, had an absolute blast. A little tired, but I'm ready to recover and do it all over again in Tampa down at the Valspar this week. But, Sleaze, before we get to our guest, Sean McDonough, we got this awesome swag.
There he
birdie
is.
juice.
There's that little beautiful
incredible
creature.
And we know there's been a few issues with a little bit of the shipping. We want to apologize for that first. There was a little glitch. We got it all fixed. Your stuff will be getting there very, very soon, and we hope this does not happen in the future. But still, go check it out at the Golf.com Pro Shop. Got all the birdie juice. Got some more stuff coming. Got some hats. Got some visors for the
visors are coming for the large domed fellas. But yeah, appreciate everyone reaching out. Our first run, it sold out quick, but we haven't got all the kinks worked out. But it is getting worked out, and everybody will get their stuff. And we got more stuff coming too. So we're gonna keep just kind of filling the assembly line going forward with some new gear.
Yep. So go to Golf.com, get on that Pro Shop, go to the Subpar section, and buy up all the birdie juice, all the get amongst it swag. All right, let's get to our guest this week, Sleaze. His voice, slightly better than ours.
Slightly. Doesn't sound like he's coming off a 4-day bender every single time he gets on the mic. But yes, our good friend Sean McDonough, who's made a little home here in Scottsdale, comes in and out, called some of the biggest games in the world, does a great job. Kind of a utility guy, calls everything.
He can
Football,
do it all.
Baseball, basketball, hockey. He knows so much stuff about every single sport, but a great dude, great stories, and a pretty solid little golfer too.
Yeah, you can find him on ESPN. Basically, it seems like all year long.
Yeah.
Just awesome to listen to. Very knowledgeable guy. And here he is, Sean McDonough on Golf Subpar.
All right, the man with us today, I would say, is one of the most dangerous 10 handicaps in all the land. He's also happens to be one of the best sports broadcasters in the game. Football, basketball, baseball, hockey, the luge, I might add. If it's a sport, he calls it. ESPN broadcaster Sean McDonough. Pleasure to have you, brother.
Thank you. I would rather be a good 10 handicap than a good sports broadcaster.
Hey,
You're doing both right now.
It's sick how important golf is to those of us who love the sport and how our mood is affected by it, but it's always a pleasure to be with you, too.
I like having a good 10 handicap on my team, though, for gambling purposes.
You have invited me once or twice,
Yes.
I think, because the fun thing about playing with you and the other guys the other pros out at Whisper Rock is, if I'm a 10-11 and you guys have to play as a +4, +5, I basically get a stroke a hole. Like, even I could make a few pars.
A few pars in there.
Right? So
Yeah.
I have to help at some point. So it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Well, you got the Syracuse sweater on right now.
Yes, I didn't know this was televised.
Well,
I'm not
we're a
supposed to
casual show, Sean.
our female fans watch.
We're a casual
and I
show.
understand that.
Yes.
I'm sure you're
We
huge
go
with the
shirtless
female
quite often, actually.
audience.
But you got to be excited about them right now.
I really am. I love Syracuse. I've said many, many times that one of the best things that's ever happened to me in my life was having gone to Syracuse and the connection that I've kept with the university for all these years. And Coach Boeheim is a dear friend, really, because I love his wife, Julie, who's mentioned many times on national TV when they play, and with good reason. She's a rock star, and she's Buddy's mom. Thank God she brought Buddy into this world, because Buddy
dealing right now.
is getting it done.
Dealing. What is it with
watch.
Syracuse? Syracuse is one of like 3 big sports journalism schools, sports broadcasting schools.
It's one of one.
Well, we
That was insulting.
we might touch on that a little bit later. But what is
Well,
it
I
about?
hope we do.
Is that just historically that's where everybody goes? They have the best program. It's like going to Harvard for whatever.
And it really
medicine.
happened by accident, because I don't know if you guys have heard of Marty Glickman, but if you haven't, you should. Marty Glickman was a great athlete, was a football player at Syracuse in the 1930s, and was a track star. There's a documentary out there about him that's fantastic, and I would encourage anybody to find it. But Marty was an accidental broadcaster. He told the story when he was in school there. There was a radio station. Now, this is the beginning of radio.
Radio, yeah.
They wanted somebody to broadcast a high school football game. So they reached out to the star of the football team, Marty Glickman. He said, I don't know anything about announcing anything. And they said, and I'm going to botch the facts, but it was something like, we'll give you $10. He said, okay.
Deal.
Right, deal. So I'll figure out how to do it. So he did it. He was great. He loved it. He became a broadcaster, became the voice of the New York Knicks and the New York Giants. And a lot of people in the New York area who wanted to be broadcasters idolized Marty Glickman. So like Marv Albert went to Syracuse because Marty Glickman went to Syracuse. So then, that started this chain. It's almost like they built the sports broadcasting program after the fact. They said, all these kids are coming here to be sports broadcasters. We better build up the program. Bob Costas. That's why I went to Syracuse, because Marty Glickman went there, Marv Albert, Dick Stockton, Bob Costas, who's about 10 years older than me. And I think that's just continued. Now kids who grow up wanting to be a sports broadcaster want to be Mike Tirico or Dave Pash or any of the other guys who have come there.
It's like Duke for hoops. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we should have gone
we
there.
Messed up.
We didn't get. What's sports broadcasting like a major? You go in there. Are so you're training to call games and things like that? What do you do in
no
class?
Specific
Is that the best
major.
class ever?
No, and it was, and it's changed since I was there. Obviously, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth. But the, when I got there, you had to spend basically the first 2 years with what they call the liberal arts core, where you had to take a math and a science and a. I was way ahead of my time in that regard, because it's very common now in sports to talk about tanking.
Yes.
When I got to Syracuse, you had to take a math, and everybody, one of their first days on campus, went down to Manley Fieldhouse, which was the old basketball arena before they moved into the Carrier Dome, and you took a math placement test, and then depending on how you did, they told you which math you were in. So I kind of heard through the grapevine that it didn't matter which math you took. You just needed to take a math and pass. So I tanked the test so I could have the easiest math, because I'm a spastic at math.
Smart.
Algebra 101.
Yeah, that's like handicap management.
A. Yeah, I don't need to be taking some hard calculus or statistics. So, but anyway, they still don't have a specific sports broadcasting major. They have a broadcast journalism major. They have started this sports media center there to make it a little more specific to sports broadcasting, because there are a ton of young people who are coming there just to be sports broadcasters. I would say dozens, if not hundreds, every year.
You know how I know he's one of the best, though? You just watch him right now. He's talking with his hands, but all the other people that come in here, they beat on the table. Sean,
we do too.
Sean is very aware. He just goes like this.
The audio people hate it.
Doing.
Audio people don't
Such
like
a
it
professional.
when you bang on the table.
Yeah. At what age did you know? Obviously, your dad was a legend. Growing up, Boston Globe, CBS, NBC, football. At what age did you know this is what you wanted to do?
5.
I mean, your
Really?
voice is just obvious. If people didn't know who you were and they heard you talk, you'd be like, "Oh, he's a sports broadcaster, no doubt."
Oh, well, I appreciate that. That kind of happened by accident. But my dad, as you said, was a sports writer for the Boston Globe. When I was a kid, the seasons didn't overlap as much, so he covered everything, but mostly football. That's what he was best known for, particularly many years later when I was in high school and heading into college, when he became the first information man on the NFL Today, with Brent Musburger and the late great Irv Cross. I was sad to hear he just passed away. He was a really, really nice man. I actually had a chance to do games with Irv when I was at CBS. But yeah, I'd follow my dad around. The most important thing, Colt, when I was a kid was we went to spring training with the Red Sox in Winter Haven, Florida. And I'd get homeschooled in the morning, and then I'd go to the park with my dad. And the writers couldn't have their kids in the press box because if you let one kid in, everybody had to come. So my dad was friendly with the Red Sox radio announcers. They said, Sean can sit in the back of our booth. I mean, that's our booth. We can dictate who is allowed in. So I would sit there, and I'd watch them as much as I'd watch the game. And I remember thinking, that looks fun. So I got a little tape recorder. And I'd sit in front of the TV at home and annoy the crap out of my family, broadcasting. Back then, that was the heyday of the Boston Bruins with Bobby Orr and all, and I would broadcast every game that came on the TV. And I'm sure it was horrific for my family, but they tolerated it. And I knew. I was very lucky. I knew when I was 5, 6 years old, this is what I wanted to do.
So growing up, you were trying to emulate like the broadcasters you were hearing on the broadcast as opposed to like the players. You're like, I want to be that guy.
And I'm still that way. I talk to friends of mine who are refs, and when they watch a sporting event, they're critiquing the officials. Mm-hmm. Broadcasters are critiquing the other broadcasters or the producing or directing the camera work as much as we are watching the game. So that's definitely true.
Who are some of your favorites to listen to in today's sports? When you're not on the call, who do you enjoy listening to?
I guess because I appreciate that this isn't easy. I have friends of mine who say all the time, "Oh, it's easy. Anybody can do that. Just sit there and talk about the game." And I said, well, come to the booth sometime and sit there and watch this. And you've done it. You guys have both done it now. You've been on national TV, doing a great job, by the way.
Well, thank you.
And it was fun to be with you at Harding Park. And we had a few chuckles.
We're going to do it again in a
few weeks. Yes, we are. We had a couple of little inside zingers, too.
Yes, send them, boys.
Yeah, but
just say patrons.
Yeah, but to me, there's nobody better today than Jim Nantz. And I'm biased because I love Jim so much as a person. You guys know him. He's just a wonderful guy. And doesn't make it about him. Can do anything, whether it's play-by-play, interviewing, studio hosting. Mike Tirico's the same way. When I grew up, it was Kurt Gowdy. You guys are probably too young to remember him, but he did every big game. Back then, there were just a couple of networks. There weren't all these networks. There was no Fox. There was no ESPN. There were no regional sports broadcasts. So it felt like Kurt Gowdy, when I was a kid, was on every Super Bowl and Rose Bowl and World Series. And he was great. Dick Enberg, I loved. Just the same thing. Rose to the occasion at the big moments. Great storyteller. Yeah, awesome. Never made it about himself.
Where's your Boston accent? Because you're a diehard Boston guy, roots all through there. Typically, you can spot a Boston guy from a mile away as soon as you hear him. You don't have that. Is that something you had to work on for broadcasting?
I got rid of it, but it was wicked hard, dude.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, get some shit like that.
Yeah, no, I never really had it, and it's a mystery, I think, to all of us because my parents both had it. People remember watching my dad on the NFL Today. I remember being at Syracuse in the dorm, and one time a friend of mine knocked on the door on a Sunday afternoon and said, I was just watching your dad on TV. He said, Ken O'Brien has a sore arm. Mm-hmm. What's an arm? Ha, ha, ha. So, my parents both had it, but none of us, I'm the oldest of 5, and none of us really have it, and I don't know why.
We had a guy call into our SiriusXM show the other day, and our producer puts it in and said, Michael from Boston. And, it was the thickest Boston accent I've ever heard. No R's in any word.
I thought fantastic. It was a prank. I was like, is this going to be some spoof question? Because it was the thickest thing you've ever heard. But you hear you on the broadcast, and there's nothing.
There's what bothers me? Every now and then in certain words, it'll come out. But what bothers me is when you see movies, and I think Saturday Night Live has done sketches about this too, like the really bad Boston accent.
Yeah, the one with Affleck with at the party. That was one of the best.
Yeah, I think Seth Meyers has done. It's like towns near Boston. It's poorly imitated in a lot of TV and movies. But I think a gentle Boston accent, that might be an oxymoron, is a good thing. But a harsh Boston accent is wicked harsh, and I think it can be a little tough on the ears.
What was it like starting with the Red Sox at such a young age? You were 4 years out of college. You got the job to be the.
You guys actually prepare for this?
A little bit. It's weird.
It is weird.
I think we actually have our producer do
very unexpected,
very off-brand.
Mark, your guy Mark.
There you go.
Mark and Zach out there. It was. I felt like I deserved it if only because when I went to Syracuse, I did minor league baseball. One of the great things about the student radio station at Syracuse was we had the broadcast rights for the Toronto Blue Jays AAA team, their top farm team, the Syracuse Chiefs. So, if you won the audition to stay for the summer and broadcast those games, you were doing 140 games a summer of AAA baseball while you were 19 years old, 20 years old. So by the time I got out of college, I had done probably 400 minor league games, so at the highest level of the minor leagues. So, I felt like I was ready to do it, and it was difficult in the sense that when I got the job, there was like the headline in the other paper in Boston that my dad didn't work for, the Herald, was where there's a will, there's a way. So it's like, you got this job because you're your dad. And, that was hard. But Jim Baker, the TV critic for the Boston Herald, to his credit, the first game I did, I'll never forget, I still have the clip. He said, even the harshest critics of Sean McDonough being hired have to admit he did an excellent job on opening day, blah, blah, blah. And then Jim was very nice to me thereafter, too. So, it may be the connection helps open doors, but I also think my dad got me fired twice. So, pretty sure the Red Sox ownership really didn't like him.
Yeah.
And I don't think it helped me much at CBS either when I left. And so,
Thanks,
probably opened a couple doors, but I'm pretty sure he got me canned twice. Not him, but the relationship that he had or didn't have in these cases with some people.
Starting off in the AAA and then going to the Red Sox, I feel like baseball, just from the outside looking in, has got to be the hardest sport to broadcast because it's like, okay, first pitch one, low and outside, ball one. Now you got
Pause.
72 seconds before another pitch is thrown. It's another ball, low and outside. Like, there's so much dead air to fill. Is baseball not the hardest?
It can be if it's like that. If it's a slow, boring game with not a lot happening. As you guys know, because you were patient enough to wait for me to be here, I was just on a Zoom call with Red Sox president Sam Kennedy and the GM of the Red Sox, Chaim Bloom, and it was very nice of them to do that. They did it with all of us Red Sox broadcasters, and I'm going to do 40 games for them on radio this summer. But one of the topics that came up was the pace of play. And as broadcasters, we were begging them to use whatever influence they have. I think there should be a pitch clock. There just needs to be. I think America is losing interest in baseball in large part because it's so slow. It takes for and there's, to your point, Drew, there's nothing to say when the pitcher is walking around the mound for 40 seconds.
Rub the ball, look around.
Yeah, you can try to tell stories and whatever, but you can only say so many times the wind's blowing out toward right and the left fielder is shading the line, and it's not fun. And I think it's hurting them not just in their broadcast coverage, but in terms of interest in the game among fandom, and I think it's going to continue to fade if they don't address it. But a great baseball game's great, and baseball I think is the most natural of the four major sports for the radio. It's a great radio sport if it's a good game. But yeah, it's hard when it's slow. And
you got to have another guy in the booth with you who you can rap back and forth and make.
Well, I've been very lucky
90
in that
seconds
regard.
Out of nothing.
Yeah, I've been very lucky. Not just with the Red Sox and the other baseball I've done, but in the other sports. I've worked with a lot of great people who are great at what they do. We did it in golf, and that is a huge part of it too. You're part of a team, and most of the time you're half of it. So if the other half isn't good or isn't fun to be with, it can make it a really tough experience. A story about your point about how slow the game is. When we had the rights on the student radio station at Syracuse, it was a 24-hour a day student staffed. Student talent on the air radio station. So most nights after the game was over, there would be a music shift, and it was a wide range of musical interest back then. So whoever was the DJ who was going to come on had to be the engineer back in the studio for the game, play the commercials. And so we had a guy who I won't mention. It was like a heavy metal. He had no interest in baseball at all, and he considered punishment to engineer the game. So we were doing a road game one time in Tidewater. The New York Mets farm team was the Tidewater Tides. We had a PSA that aired as one of the commercials. It was for the National Association of the Blind, and it started out, "My name is Edna, and I'm blind." And so I'm doing the game. Here's the pitch, ball 2. And all of a sudden I hear in my headset down the line, "My name is Edna." And I'm like, well, the guy, Gil, I'll just say his first name, back in the studio, was bored. So he thought he'd amuse himself by just, So, when we got to the commercial, I'm like, hey, Gil, could you cut the crap, please, with my name is Edna? It's supposed to be a somewhat professional operation. But, yeah, sometimes the boredom of baseball can cause people to do things they might otherwise not do.
Yeah, I think even in our game in golf, pace of play, speeding it up would help the broadcast.
Well, and you know what? I thought, and I was really proud to be a part of it. We got a lot of great, not we necessarily, but the people who made the decision about the pace at which we showed golf shots at ESPN at the PGA Championship. We were going shot. It wasn't watching guys line up putts and let's talk about this guy for 45 seconds. I think, and Mike McQuaid led the way, our producer at ESPN. I think people who love golf and who are watching this, especially when they're on the app or ESPN Plus, they want to see golf.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of, ESPN, got a lot of praise for the pace of our coverage, and I think deservedly so. And I think the other networks would be wise to emulate it. I think they're moving in that direction, but I still think the pace of golf on TV could be a lot faster.
Yeah, that's the big grief with golf. It's like there's too much fluff, there's too much stuff, and they only show 4 guys or whatever. You don't see all the action, but that's a good job by you. How different is it for you going from baseball, where it's like, okay, 72 seconds in between pitches, fill this airtime and ramble about whatever you can, to go into golf where it's like you got 10 seconds, say something good, and then shut up.
Right. And as you guys both know, the hard part about golf is when they come to you on your hole or when you're an on-the-course commentator, you don't know how long they're coming to you for. Are they going to stick around and watch the guy, finish the hole, knock in his 3-foot par putt? Are they going to show somebody else on the same green putt next? Or are they going to, go off to another hole and maybe come back to you, maybe not? One of the best pieces of advice I ever got from anybody in all the time I've been doing this now is when CBS added me to the Masters coverage in 1996. And the late, great Frank Chirkinian was still in charge of CBS Golf. And he invented golf on TV. And he said to me, the most important advice I'm going to give you is, he said, we have you on here in part because we have enough golf people. We need more announcer types. And you're a good storyteller. And I like storytelling. But I'm not going to wait for you to finish your story. If Phil Mickelson is putting on the 12th hole to take the lead, we're going to go there fast. So whatever story you tell, you need to be able to finish it at the end of each sentence. And he gave an example like, I talked to Tiger Woods on the practice screen this morning, and he said he's using a new putter. Like, well, you could stop after that. And he's using this new putter because, whatever, it's longer, it's slightly more loft, whatever. But, and it's actually a great skill that applies to all the other sports too. But Frank said, I'm not going to wait while you say, I talked to Drew Stoltz this morning, and he said, let's go to 16. You're like, we're going. So you can't be talking.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. So it was great advice, and it that's part of the difficulty of doing golf. And you have to pay attention because, as you guys both know, a lot of golf coverage on TV is on tape. I don't know what percentage it is, but it's a high percentage. And it has to be because they're on 18 holes, and then there's multiple places on each hole where people are playing. You can't show it all live. I mean, it's impossible. So to me, I think some of the most talented people in sports TV are the producers and the directors and the associate producers and the people in the tape room who not only are figuring out, okay, what's live and what's on tape, what should we show live, what should we show on tape, but then they've got to get it in the right sequence. And they have to make sure, like, let's don't update the scoreboard until, we show the guy putting on tape, even though we know he's already 8 under. Let's keep it at 7 under until we show him making that putt. So there's so much that goes into golf on TV. I don't know how it even gets on the air.
Yeah, they do an unbelievable job. But you mentioned you started at the Masters in 96. Then 97.
I think it was our friend McCord, thank God, who got himself in trouble that opened up a spot.
You slid right into Cougar spot.
I'm pretty sure, and I used to say to him, like, don't apologize. Don't, just you stick to whatever your principles are, but I want to keep my spot.
It was a matter of time. Yeah.
But then 97 rolls around and this guy Tiger kind of splashes on the scene. What was that week like for you being at Augusta National with Tiger?
One of the things I appreciate about this job is when you get a chance to witness true greatness, and that's what we're witnessing. Something that's you just knew this guy is. He's not unlike everybody else in the history of the game. He's pretty darn close. And, my first one, if I have my math right, was the year that Greg Norman blew the lead. And
96.
I had to kind of give the eulogy because as he got late in the round, and that was hard, because you don't want to bury the guy too much, but you also want to try to put in some sort of historical context, involving where does this rate among, I don't know if it was a collapse, because Faldo played really well, but
78 on Sunday with the lead.
yeah, it was probably
I don't know about yeah, there's probably a few shots. He might
right,
went
I
over.
guess. But and plus, here I am brand new, and you don't want to be the guy to bury him, but we always owe it to the audience to say whatever is the most pertinent thing at that time. So, but that was a real treat. That's someplace that's more than lives up to the hype. You go there with expectations. You think there's no way these are going to be matched, and then they're surpassed every time, no matter how many times you've been there.
Well, I was going to say that's perfect because you say it, it lives up to the hype, and you've been to every arena, every ballpark, every stadium there is. What are some of those other places that you go to and you're like, wow, this place is truly special?
Fenway Park.
Kind of figured that was
Yeah. Shocker. Yeah.
Wow, a lot of places. College football. A lot of the places that you would think are great are. I love going to Ohio State. I'm still a sucker for the dotting the I in Script, Ohio. Almost any place in the SEC. Allen Fieldhouse in college basketball. No offense to the Duke people, but I would take that over Cameron.
Really?
Oh, nice.
That's a bold statement.
And I with a qualifier. All of my experience for many years in Cameron was as a broadcaster. So it was tilted toward the negative because the broadcast position there is awful. You're in a little basket that hangs from the roof. It's a terrible vantage point. You can't even stand up straight. I can't even. So imagine, a guy like Billis who's 6'6" or whatever he is, 6'7". You're whacking your head off pipes, and it's hard to see. It's super hot.
I heard it gets a little warm up there.
It's super hot. They told stories about the late great Rick Majerus, who was a large man.
Yeah.
You had to climb a ladder to get up there. You have to climb over fans to get to the ladder. It's just so. I really didn't like going there. Not only, it was like, Cameron, but I just didn't want to do a game there, even though it's Cameron. Mm-hmm. And then I went to a game as a fan, and it's a completely different. As a fan, it's awesome. Cool. I mean, it's deserving of, its ranking among experiences because as a fan, it was fantastic.
Yeah, those little small gyms in college basketball are the best, where they get loud. It feels
but
like
the
a
Carrier
big high
Dome's pretty
school.
awesome too now.
Yeah, that's
fabulous
a monster.
Carrier Dome. Well, that's cool with 35,000 people in there for a basketball game. Have either of you ever been there?
No, that's a hard place to get to.
Syracuse?
Just stumble upon Syracuse.
We have planes that go there.
Yeah, they do go there.
They have cars.
They do go there. It takes a lot of hours to get there, and then
cold
cars.
up there, though.
Well, it depends on where you're coming from.
Yeah, true. From here.
Yeah, from here in Arizona, it is a long trip, and that's one of the things about my experience now at ESPN doing ACC basketball every Monday on the Big Monday. This is a plug, but Big Monday's over, so it won't be till next January. But it's hard to get from Phoenix to Durham.
Yeah, that's a long
Phoenix
trip
to,
for you.
those
Yeah,
are
there's
long
some
trips.
small towns too in there.
But to get back here, for the extra couple of hours each way, each week, to come back here and have it be what we experience here with the weather and getting to hang around with guys like you
us,
at Whisper Rock and play golf year round. It's awesome. I have the best of both worlds. I'm here basically for 6 months and back in Boston for 6 months in the summer and fall when it's beautiful in New England.
You call all the sports. You've done everything pretty much under the sun. What is your favorite? What gets your juices going the most? What sport?
Asked that a lot, and it's really hard to answer because what I love, and I'm not trying to dodge your question, but what I love the most about it is, yeah. If I had to pick, I'd say football.
Syracuse football. No.
Yeah, really any football, particularly college football.
Yeah,
it's one of the things that I was honored beyond belief to do Monday Night Football for 2 years, but I really missed college football. They're both great, but they're different, and I missed the atmosphere more than anything. The atmosphere around college football games is unique and special, and it's one of the things that made this past season so hard, to go to these stadiums with nobody there. I remember the first game we did this year, Todd Blackledge and Todd McShay and myself, we were at Wake Forest. They were playing Clemson. And about an hour and a half before the game, the two coaches, Dabo Sweeney and Dave Clausen, met at midfield with some administrators, and they're standing there talking. And they were playing fake crowd noise through the PA system and they were talking about what was the acceptable volume level for the fake crowd noise. So it
was weird.
I'm so glad they got through the season, and it looks like college basketball is going to make it all the way to the finish too. Hope the audio guy didn't mind that light tap.
That was
good. But you're welcome, Mark. But
he's a pro.
And it's amazing that we have and that we will, and it's great that we've been able to continue playing the games and with nobody really getting sick. I think one of the great things was, some of the conferences, particularly the Big Ten and the Pac-12, when football season started, they were really, really concerned, which I understand. I mean, there's nothing more important than anybody's health. But the fact that we got through the whole football season, did you ever hear of anybody even getting really sick? I mean, you heard of players getting COVID and sitting out, but you never heard like, wow, that guy's in rough shape or that guy died, thank God. So
I think all the sports have done an unbelievable job.
They have.
Yeah.
But that we've made it this far, and now I think there's really light at the end of the tunnel. Matter of fact, on that Zoom call I was talking about with the Red Sox management, they were talking about trying to move quickly to increasing capacity and hopeful that the city and state government will allow them to do that.
It's just not the same without the fans or the patrons.
It's awful.
Or the patrons.
The patrons.
We'll get some patrons.
Yeah.
We'll get some patrons.
We're going to
down
have some
there soon.
patrons.
I haven't heard the number yet, but
I haven't either. But
some is better than none.
I said spectators once on the
don't do that.
John Feinstein's book about the Masters, he mentions it in there. I said spectators once,
like
and I couldn't change it to patrons fast enough, catch myself. But so I think you're allowed some mulligans. But one of the things I came to appreciate very quickly about the Masters, and this is going to sound like a suck up, and it is, but it's also the truth, and you guys know, it's the best run sporting event I've ever been to.
Oh, wow.
I mean, just the way they get people in and out. And the prices, in this day and age where everybody's gouging the crap out of everything and everyone, the food prices in particular. And, it's just, I think there's a class and dignity and respect for the patrons there that should be emulated in other sports and other sporting events.
You show up with $20, you can get drunk and full at Augusta.
Yeah. Or even, just you have like 12 Cokes if you
or
don't
12
want
Cokes,
to drink.
Yes,
yeah.
you could be sober.
But you
and
could
full
get
as
like
well.
a beer and a chicken sandwich. I haven't been a patron in a few years, but not that long ago because I love to go and just walk around. But it's ridiculously cheap, as you said.
It's cool that they don't just gouge because they could charge whatever they want and people would do it.
You go to Jerry.
You're trapped.
I think they sell enough merchandise to
I think their merch sales
does all right.
level out the
Just
bottom
fine.
line.
Yeah, you go
But
to
even
Jerry
then's
World.
not. They could charge way higher prices.
Oh, you go to
than
these
they do
college
on
football
that.
games or Jerry World, like he said. Oh, you
$20
want a
for a
Coors
bottle of
Light?
water.
Oh, yeah, that's $17.20. Okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then people, you're still gonna buy it. What are you gonna do?
Yep, you're kind
Not
of
drink
a
beer while you
hostage.
watch football? Not possible.
Let me ask you one thing that I think is always interesting because you mentioned you love college football so much,
Mm-hmm.
and the fan bases are very, very loyal to their teams, and they're not scared to say if they think a broadcaster is
Sucks.
maybe sucks or rooting against their
That's a
team,
strong
or
word.
rooting for another
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Have you
I
ever been
will.
admit-
I will
keep-
admit to we can occasionally suck. We're all human. Some days we're better than others. We try hard. I think most of us do. Not all. There are some guys I watch who I think they're mailing it in sometimes. But I
Name names. No, I'm kidding.
I will when we're done. But the whole you're against our team or you're for the other team. Now, I will say this: we're all human beings. Sometimes you'll meet with a team, and both teams before the game, as we do. Unfortunately, this past year on Zoom. I hope we get back to in-person meetings, but. Sometimes one coaching staff is friendly and cooperative and tells you interesting stuff and it will allow you to go to practice, and the other guys are a bunch of jerks. I mean, I fight sometimes when I get in the booth, I really don't like that guy and I really like him. But when the game starts, first of all, you owe it to the viewers to not be that way, to not be biased. And I think all of our thought processes are caught up in just talking about what we should be talking about at the right time, in the right order, telling stories at the right time, talking about what's happening in the game. Was that a good call, a bad call? That the fan part of you goes out of your head. Like I watched Syracuse during this tournament as a spectator sitting on my couch, and I scream at the TV and I scream at the officials, and I'm texting my friends, the officials are out to screw us. And when I do a Syracuse game, I feel this much of that, because you're just so focused on doing your job. And you owe it to the other side, if there are, the people who are cheering for their team, to not feel like you're biased. So
You're professional.
I don't. Yeah, I think that's one criticism of announcers. That's kind of
you mentioned the meeting with the coaches before a game. What's like your preparation like before a game? Say you have a Saturday afternoon football game.
Well, football's the hardest preparation by far because there's so many guys on each team. A basketball game, college basketball game, there might be 7, 8, 9 guys on each team that are going to play. Where in football, there might be 60 on each team. And it's just, I grew up around football, around my dad. When I went to Syracuse, another one of the great blessings in my life was I was a work study student in our football coaching staff for the late, great Dick McPherson, who was like a second dad to me. One of the great honors of my life was when he passed away 2.5 years ago. His family asked me to give eulogy at his funeral up in Syracuse. And it was hard because, I was going to cry every 10 seconds, and I pretty much did because he was just such a remarkable man. One of the things I learned from him was, in Syracuse, you're the football coach or the basketball coach. That's a big deal. That's the only game in town, and you're the most famous person in town, you and Coach Boeheim, who was the coach when I was a student there. That's how long he's been there.
Yeah.
But I just learned how he interacted as a public person. He treated everybody well. And not to be fake because he cared about everybody. He cared about me. I was the lowest man on the totem pole. But I watched how hard football coaching staffs work to prepare for the game all week. And I think I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I hope my colleagues would say that this is true, that I work really hard in the preparation for the game. It's by far the most important thing. 98% of my time is probably spent in preparation, 95%, and it's the other 5% that's the time you're on the air. But, you want to know as much as you can, particularly if the game goes south. You want to hold the audience and have some, good human interest stories or good inside information that the coaches told you or something to hopefully keep the people who are still watching entertained.
Do you have those plugged in all right, here's my 4 or 5 stories I got. If things start to drag ass here and I need to keep everybody, I'm going to go to one of these and then bam, check them off.
Yeah, and we do that as a group. Like we will, to answer your question better, Colt, we do the game Saturday. Sunday, our producer on our college group, Josh Hoffman, asked us to sort of watch the game that we just did. And, I can remember almost all of it, so I don't necessarily have to watch the tape. You can probably, I'm sure, after you play in a golf tournament, you can remember every shot you hit 100%. And what the yardage was and was it good or bad and why was it good or bad. I'm like that, and I think a lot of people in our business are too. But we kind of, so on Tuesday, we'll have a conference call, and we'll, as a group, and we'll review the previous game, what was good, what was bad, how can we be better, and then we'll preview the next game. So we've all started in our preparation because you want to give the graphics people enough time to build graphics during the week of information that we find is interesting, and they also tell us a lot of stuff that they found in their research that they want us to know and think we might want to talk about. And then, there's flashbacks or whatever. Hey, can you get that clip of that kid when he was in high school and he, dunked a basketball from the foul line or something? So it's a collaborative effort the whole week. And I try to watch at least 2 or 3 games of that the teams have already played, the most recent games. Part of it's just to help me familiarize myself with the names and numbers. A lot of times you can do that, but if you watch the film, okay, that guy he's number 9 wide receiver, but he's also 6'6", and he's the tall, skinny guy, and the other guy's the shorter guy who plays in the slot, whatever. So, and you can steal some good stories from other broadcasters. A lot of times they're doing preparation for you. Yeah. They tell a story like, that's a good story, and that should be repeated. Because one of the things we learn is not everybody watches every game that all of these teams play. So repeating the best stuff is a good idea.
Well, you've been on live television, live radio, all that stuff for a long time. There's no way you've gone through all this time, as good as you are, without a little slip up or a little hiccup here or there. You got any standouts of times where you got done saying something, and you're like, whoops, that's probably going to be a problem?
Oh, yeah. I think I might have told you guys in the previous appearance on your many media platforms. This is
numerous.
This is an enterprise. I mean, now you have a set.
Dude.
I mean, when I met you guys, I think you had 2 Dixie cups and a string that you guys were talking into.
That's it.
Now you have a staff and this impressive set. But yeah, I accidentally said shit on the air.
That'll happen.
Yeah, and it wasn't as a curse word. It was a Red Sox game, but it was on ESPN. It was with Ray Knight, and Dwight Evans for the Red Sox was coming to the plate, and I think he had 2,299 career hits. So I wanted to say he was 1 hit shy of 2,300, and it didn't quite come out that way.
Just got it mixed up a little bit.
You got it mixed up, and then when all of us like misspeak sometimes, or we utter a sentence that doesn't come out quite right, and then you run it back in your own head. And I ran it back in my own head. And I thought, oh my God, I just said what I said. And then I looked at Ray Knight, and he had his headset off. I was like, yep, that's what I said. So I said, I did say he's 1 hit shy of 2,300, didn't I? And Ray Knight said, absolutely, that's what you said. And the guys in the truck are like, no, that's not what you said. Like,
I think if you do it long enough, the slip-ups are
what are you
going
to do?
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, it's not like you said it on purpose or just you just crossed your words up.
yes.
One
Syracuse,
hit shy, that's hard to say. One shit shy, that's easy to say.
Yeah, it's easy to say. And Syracuse wins the basketball national championship in 2003. I go with a couple of buddies of mine and meet a bunch of Syracuse friends down there. So they win. Carmelo Anthony, Jerry McNamara, who's on the coaching
Legend.
Yeah, he made 7 threes, I think, in the championship game against Kansas. So I have to go do the Frozen Four college hockey in Buffalo, New York. And I love hockey, and I love doing the Frozen Four. College hockey was really my first job at Nesson in Boston before I got the Red Sox gig a few years later. So it's Monday night. We go to Berman. We go to the Syracuse Hotel, and we go to Bourbon Street. And my flight was at maybe 7 or 8 in the morning. So literally, it was go to the hotel, throw your stuff in a bag fast, and get to the airport. And it was not a direct flight from New Orleans to Buffalo. But anyway, I was not at my sharpest for a couple of days. So we're doing the Frozen Four, and I'm pretty sure it was the University of New Hampshire Wildcats, who are blue and white. I had done a lot of Big East basketball that year. Connecticut, really good. And New Hampshire scores a goal, and I scream, "It's a goal for Connecticut."
New Hampshire people probably love that.
And I'm like, I'm never staying out all night, 2 nights before a game again, or 3 nights before, whatever. But it was amazing. And that's why I changed Raftery, Bill Raftery, who is the absolute best, by the way. And I don't know if either one of you have ever met him, but you need to have him on the show. First of all, he's the nicest, funniest guy, and he's the most well-liked person I've ever met in life. I mean, when he dies, can't imagine where they're going to have that funeral, because it's not going to be big enough, even if they had it at Madison Square Garden. But he likes to go out and have a good time, as I'm not telling tales out of school there. And it got to the point where I told him, I am not going to dinner with you the night before the game. Like I put in and in football, I have the 2 nights before the game rule, just because you can't. And I don't know if maybe some guys play golf a little better if they're hurting a little bit, but it's you owe it to your employer and you owe it to your audience to be at your best. And it just got to the point where you don't want to be on the air doing a big Monday talking like the late great Jack Buck. I think that was his voice, but you'd be kind of that frogginess that you get, the hoarseness when you're a little hangy, is because you're dehydrated.
Hey, been there, done that.
We've had it on radio a few times.
Oh, I bet you have.
Believe it or not.
So I have the football 2 nights before the game, or on lockdown, and basketball 1 night before the game.
That's fair.
Raftery likes to go though, huh?
And as I said, and he's Bill is in mid to late 70s now, and I think he lies about his age. No, I'm kidding.
He goes backwards.
Well, many years ago, someone wrote an article about him, and they got the age wrong by it was a year or 2 low, and he was like, I think I'm going to adopt that. Yeah. I'm like, Bill, you don't need to worry about that, because people will hire you when you're 100. People love you, and he's at the top of his game. I mean, he was just made the lead analyst on the Final Four 4 or 5 years ago, and he was in his 70s then. It should have, and I understand why. Billy Packer had that job for all those years, and he was fantastic. So, that's one of the frustrations of this job. As somebody who's trying to get up and, golf commentary, there's a lot of good people ahead of you. A lot of times it's just, you're terrific, but there's not an opening or an opportunity. But, Bill's won the Sports Emmy for the best national analyst in any sport in his mid-70s. He's still hitting his stride. And but he can go, and he's never sloppy.
I love that.
And he'll be up the next day with the perfect hair, and he'll be in the gym at whatever time doing his, he likes the elliptical, and it never looks like he's hurting the next day. And part of it is it's a social activity for him. It's not I just want to go out and drink. He loves people, and he loves spending time with people. So he's not.
I got to meet this guy.
He's a pro's pro.
Yeah, he'll stay out, but he's not. He's the furthest thing from sloppy I've ever seen. And that's one of the things that bothers me, like when on social media, which I don't do, but
Smart.
It's a good idea.
yeah,
Smart,
I know, believe me. But I know people talk about his nickname is Uncle One More because it's not one more, it's one more place. Where's the next place we're going to go? But remarkable stamina and as fine a person as I know. And
That is awesome.
I don't have a
Good
better
nickname.
friend.
Yeah.
Uncle One More.
Well, we got to talk a little bit about your golf game, and we'll just stay on the
do we?
topics of broadcasters. Where would you say your golf gang ranks among the elite broadcasters in this world?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to think about that. First of all, thank you for including me among the
Elite.
elites.
Yes.
Elite.
It's probably easier to start with. I haven't played with that many of them. I'm better than Chirico for sure.
I can vouch for that.
Al
That's
Michaels, you're better than
Oh,
him.
way better than
than
Al
him.
Michaels. Yeah, way better. Well, actually, one of the thrills for me was one day at Whisper, as you guys might remember. I think were you hosting them or you?
I hosted with you. With,
Yeah,
few
we had a
guys.
picture
Tarico.
taken, and
Yeah.
all three of us were, the recent Monday Night Football announcers. So that was really cool. Though I never got the picture. I don't know whose phone took it, but
I'll get
do you
that
have
to
it?
you. Yeah.
It's on
That'd be-
Swayze's ceiling.
Yeah,
I would
it's
really-
my Instagram. It's my profile picture.
I don't even want to think.
It was
about
my
that.
Christmas card for 5 years.
Ma, can you edit that out, please? But I understand Joe Buck is a good player. I've never played with him. He's a friend. I've been trying to get him to come to my charity tournament, but it's hard because it's a Sunday Monday thing, and he's always doing football in the fall. So, one year I ran into him at Oakmont. Wonderful place, maybe my favorite of any golf course I've ever
Not
played.
easy.
Not easy. But my partner, I have a buddy of mine, Kurt Coulter, who's the 7-time club champ at Oakmont.
Oh, wow.
You got to be pretty good, right?
Yeah.
He's Jim Furyk's cousin, and he's perfect for that course because everything is a high, really high, beautiful fade that lands soft. My little, snarky little hooks coming into those
I
greens.
don't know if I call it
Little knuckleball
snarky.
in
It's
there.
just a
a
little.
little
It's
ropey.
a hot one. It's a
yeah,
hot
it's
boy.
coming
It's a
in
little
hot,
chihuahua.
a little less altitude sometimes than you'd like, but that doesn't play quite as well there. But I ran into Joe there one year, and he was playing with Mark Bulger, the old quarterback, who was the member, and I think they were in the top flight or one of the, and what I understand, Joe was low single digits and pretty good. Billis is a vanity handicap. He says he's a 6 or 7, but I'd play him even and win money and have. And have.
There we go.
I'm trying to think. Well, who else? I've never played with Nance. I don't know how much Jim plays.
He's got to have a decent
He's got to
game.
have a
He played
good
at
game.
Houston.
Yeah,
Right.
Houston
I'm sure
during
he's
the
really,
heyday.
really good. He belongs to, I think he's at Wingfoot. And
Can he get
some
on
other
some
nice
places, Jim?
I would think he could. He lives on Pebble Beach, as we all know. So, and just the best. He's one of those people who's good at everything. He really is.
I love those people.
At our place, John Bucci-Gross is a really good golfer.
Yeah, he plays a
Joe
ton.
Bucci's 4 or 5, I would say 3, 4, 5, somewhere in that range.
loves
Michael
it,
Eaves
yeah.
loves golf. Good player. I've played with him. He's legit 5 or 6, 4 or 5. I might be selling him short actually, but
I'll tell you who's not is at your place. Chris Berman. I got paired with him one year at the AT&T. Doesn't have the smoothest game,
no.
but he is a blast to play with.
He is a blast to play with. I played in the Deutsche Bank Pro-Am with him one year. And I think Padraig Harrington was our pro. Talk about a fun guy to play with in a Pro-Am.
Yeah.
And the one thing I remember about that day is I've never seen anybody sweat like
I was
this.
literally about to bring it up. He's the only guy that brings a sweat rag around Pebble Beach when it's like 50.
Yeah. He had on, tan khaki pants, and it looked like he had jumped in a pond.
Yep.
Yeah.
The year I played with him at Pebble, he plays with J.J. Henry, and they made the cut. And they were right around the number coming in, and I've never seen a human more nervous in my
And
life.
Chris?
Yes. He
The
was
day we played,
sweating,
he helped.
freaking
He
out.
was a 16, 17, 18,
Yeah.
whatever, and he helped on a lot of holes.
He did. It was
Yeah.
hilarious to watch, though.
He gets done with the rounds, and of course they love to interview him because he's fantastic. It looks like he just got out of a murder investigation, like an interrogation. He's dabbing himself, and he's got sweat everywhere. I was like, you just played Pebble. Most guys are in sweaters, and he's just he's dripping.
Yeah, I think he could sweat pretty much any place. And, imagine you're doing Major League Baseball in the summer. And, you're at the All-Star game. He's doing the home run derby all those years. You're in Cleveland and it's 100 and humid or whatever. And what I remember about Padraig Harrington, and it's been really fun, and one of the nice things, like doing a little bit of golf for ESPN, is the golfers are such good guys, and they remember you. Like, I played with Lee Westwood one year, and I was probably a year later at the British Open, the Open Championship, and I walked over toward him on the practice tee thinking he's not going to remember me, and he struck up a conversation like I was his long-lost best friend.
That's awesome.
And so it really helps you, do your job too. When I played with Billy Horschel and a bunch of other guys who, Brant Snedeker, who could not have been more fun. But Padraig Harrington, we get on the first tee, and he says, I'm Irish, but I can't do the accent. But he said, okay, fellas, the most important thing today is to have fun. And I thought, oh, that's great. And he said, and what's the best way to have fun? He says, to win. He said, so, it's, as you guys know, it's, how many times have I said, as you guys know? I'm trying to be deferential to you guys. I'm really not sure if you really know this stuff or not, but I'm pretty sure in this case, you know this stuff. It's par is your partner, right? Mm-hmm. So no matter if everybody makes $1 million, you got a par. You got a par no matter what. So he said, like, we have a par no matter what. So I will only get mad if, like, you lay up or you don't go for the pin, or he said, we have 5 of us, we only need 1 score. And I'm like, I really like this guy now. Because, as an amateur, but who's competitive, you want to feel like the guy's engaged, and he's engaged in conversation with you, but he's also, a little bit interested in trying to win. You guys probably don't care about winning, but
the pro-am now.
No, the pro no. But he really did. And he came in afterwards he was the only pro who came into the amateur food tent afterwards. You looked around the room. Yeah. And
that's not normal.
And sat there. Yeah, maybe not. But he sat there for a long time. And in a very polite way said, okay, after a while, okay, like if you guys want to know what I think of your golf swing or game, I'm happy to give each of you a point or two. And we were like, sure. So he was like, you stand too far away from the ball and you do this and blah, 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 blah. Man thought, that's really cool that he cared enough to, make some mental notes.
Great.
What did he tell
awesome.
you? You're perfect. Don't change anything.
He said, get a bowling ball and sell the clubs.
Give up.
We had him. He was in your chair just
wonderful
like a month
guy.
Or so ago. Awesome
Wonderful guy. I really enjoyed him, and a guy I've enjoyed running into over the years since.
Yeah,
he's going to be a great captain.
Special dude.
Yeah,
it's going to be hard to root against him, but we will.
Are we going to have fans?
Yes.
I hope so. They have to. You can't have that event without fans.
100%.
Without
All
question.
Right, time for the E9?
Yes.
All right,
let's
Sean.
hit it.
This is the emergency 9?
Emergency 9.
Emergency.
All right. We asked this to everybody, and you got to really think here.
Okay.
Movie made about the life of Sean McDonough. You can pick any actor, dead or alive, to play you. Who's it going to be?
Oh, boy.
We also get to give our opinion.
Okay.
Well. I think I got.
Was it just based on like physical resemblance?
No, whatever you want. Who could play
it's your
you?
Movie.
Who could play you?
Well, this is shameless name drop, but one of my my closest friends is Matt Damon.
There you go.
So,
oh Jesus, what a name drop! Yeah. Get over yourself.
And I think he's an amazing actor too. So, and I know he'd care. Like I've watched him, what he does to prepare for what he does. Matter of fact, the movie, the military movie where he was the medic and
Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah. Which I'm sorry I'm chuckling, but it brings to mind a story that he told that is probably not suitable for this setting.
Perfect.
But we might. We'll see. We'll see
There's
how it goes.
not many that.
But he was addicted to drugs in that movie. So to get ready for that part, he was running 15 miles a day, and he stopped eating, and it got to the point where his heart started to have a problem. And he went to a doctor, and the doctor said, "Yeah, you're basically becoming like anorexic. Like I know you're into preparing for this part, but you have to eat something, and you got to stop running 15 miles a day." And so he's super into whatever it is that he's preparing for, and just a great guy. I've known him since he was 19 years old, maybe, and he's
little Matty on the block.
Good Boston boy from Cambridge,
Mm-hmm.
and and hasn't changed a bit. I mean, I knew he was a runner for a game that I did in the booth in the old Foxborough Stadium back when the Patriots were terrible, which is hard to believe that ever happened, but it did. I was doing a game for CBS, a regional game with Hank Stram. It was probably going to 4% of the country, and Matt was our booth runner, and he was really excited to have the gig because it paid $50, and he needed the $50. So doesn't need the $50.
Now he makes like $50 million.
So you were Matt Damon's boss for a little bit.
What's that?
That's nice. You were Matt Damon's boss. You could boss him around.
For one day.
Yeah.
But I still have people at CBS who say, like, I can't believe that Matt Damon was our booth runner back in 1990, whatever it was. But
he's really found a nice niche for himself. Who'd
super
you have
person.
for him?
Although I will say this, if we're going to rag on people about golf,
Sure.
I had been trying to bug him and other people. His dad was a passionate golfer. Matt had no interest in golf. And then he got the part in the
Legend of Bagger Vance.
Thank you very much. Legend of Bagger Vance. And they sent him, which might have been a mistake, someplace to basically get instruction for 5 or 6 weeks. And he was a robot. If you watch him in the movie, Joel Gretsch, who played Bobby Jones, who I met, through Matt, because they got to know each other, obviously, making the movie. That's Joel. He can really play. I mean, he's got a beautiful natural golf swing, but he grew up playing. But Matt's a robot, and he's still a terrible golfer. He doesn't play a lot.
Can't have it all.
He's a good family man, which isn't he'd rather spend time with his kids, which most golfers out there say, really? But
that's the hard thing with golf movies, though, is you need a good actor, but you also need a guy that is believable for some of the shots.
But
and there
he
aren't many
called
of
me
those.
from wherever he was, Savannah or Hilton, I can't remember where, somewhere down the southeast. They got him with a coach, and he got a lot of instruction. And he called me. He said, like, I'm a 5-day golfer, and I'm addicted. Why didn't you make me play this sport? I said, well, I've been trying to tell you for years. You should play golf. You like it. He's a very good athlete. But he just his swing was a little robotic in that movie, I think.
Well, Matt,
Stop making blockbusters.
If you come do golf subpar, we'll give you some lessons.
He would come on. He'd love you two guys.
It'd be incredible.
Come on. Yeah, we'll set that up. All right, that's
because he likes everybody. That's the reason.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not a compliment.
He's a grader.
Forget you, Matt. No, okay. I had Paul Giamatti,
Okay.
who I think is awesome.
Really?
What's wrong with him, dude? He's a talent. He's super talented.
He's very talented. Do you think he occasionally overacts? Like there's a little time like wow, this
I like him.
He's
who
really
he is, right?
an actor. Like
Billions.
He's
the DA. He's a district attorney in Billions.
Sideways.
Gotcha.
He's good. He
Okay,
plays a
I know what you're
variety
talking
of
about
roles.
I just went kind of off looks a little bit. I had Ed Harris.
Great actor.
Yeah, awesome. Can do it all.
I'd prefer him.
Ed Harris.
No offense to Paul. I mean Paul Giamatti. I'd like to be as
Ed
good
Harris
at my job
like
as he is at his.
Like a military badass. I don't know. I mean,
he does it all.
You're a dude.
Very talented man.
All right.
Just like Sean.
Yeah, I'd stick with Matt Damon.
Okay. Well, this
We
may
probably
be,
can't afford him. Do we have a good budget for this movie?
What's that?
Do we have a good budget?
No,
for
dude.
it?
We got
probably can't
unlimited
afford
funds.
Matt.
Unlimited funds,
Okay.
especially if Matt's in it. You may have just answered it, but all right, you're gonna call a football game. You get to have a Boston icon in the booth with you. Would you rather have Wahlberg, Damon, or Affleck? Maybe I'll remove Damon from that since you're close friends with him. Who would you rather have as your color guy?
I had Affleck once as a color guy.
Really?
Yes. I know Ben pretty well through Matt, and we were in Toronto, and I think we were doing a Red Sox game. They're obviously huge Red Sox fans, and that is 100% legit. Like people say, sometimes these celebrities are fake sports fans. They are huge Boston sports fans, both Matt and Ben, and the Wahlbergs for that.
Yeah, they're real too.
Yeah, so Ben came on the air with us. He's making a movie in Toronto. We talked during the day. He's coming to the game. I said, why don't you come up and come on with us? And he ripped every Red Sox player like you can't believe. I can't believe this guy's not in Pawtucket. We had a pitcher named Rolando Araujo, spot starter relief pitcher. Kind of borderline. He was fine, but he was pitching well in this particular game. And Ben's quote was, "Yeah, he seems to have his Araujo-ness under control tonight." Right? So
that's a good line.
He buried Lou Merlone, who I actually now do the Red Sox games with on the radio. And, Lou grabbed me in the clubhouse the next day, like, tell your boy Ben Affleck to blah, 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 blah. It's like, I used to get that with my dad, too. My dad would rip somebody in the paper, and I walk in the clubhouse the next day, tell your father he can kiss my rear end. I'm like, what does that have to do with me? So you call him. I'll give you his number. You can tell him. It has nothing to do with me. But
Ben is a color guy.
But Ben was a good color guy. Who would be a great color guy is Donnie Wahlberg. Another guy who loves golf. Really good guy. Has played in my charity thing a few times. I figure if I mention people who play in the charity thing, they might come back.
Yeah,
because I know this will have a wide viewership.
Tons.
Smart. Yeah.
Can I get the clip and send it to Donnie Wahlberg?
You can have whatever you want.
Charge admission.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, he tried to have this shooting schedule for Blue Bloods changed so that he could come to the tournament. His name's
dedication.
on the championship trophy at our tournament is the Will McDonough Memorial Cup, and Donnie's name is on it. His group won it one year. But,
that's nice.
Really good guy.
Beautiful.
And Mark Wahlberg, is a member at Boston Golf Club, which, as you both know, I am passionate about and think is the greatest golf course in the history of creation. Gil Hanse.
Got to see it.
Yes,
sometime.
we got to. Yeah, we got to get up there and see it. I've heard not just
maybe
from
someone
you.
will invite you.
Yeah.
I've invited you many times.
Yeah,
We had a group from
A lot of
Whisper Rock
stuff.
come out last summer, and I made the mistake. I was out of town. I made the mistake of telling the BGC people, just put them on the scholarship, whatever they want. Well,
yeah.
apparently they had the number for the halfway house or the airstrikes because I'm still paying down my bill in installments for
Wrong guys.
wrong guys,
dudes.
wrong guys.
That is awesome. All right, number 3. If you had one more game or event to call in your career, you can pick anything. It's your last one. What's it going to be?
Ooh. Well, if you had asked me this a couple of weeks ago, I would have said the Super Bowl because that's the biggest event in American sports, right? But I'm hoping to be involved with ESPN's upcoming coverage of the NHL. So I would say the Stanley Cup Final.
That would be a heck of a way to go out.
Yep.
Playoff hockey, pretty hard
There's
to beat.
nothing better than playoff hockey.
So good.
There's nothing better. And if
I would not have guessed that, but that's awesome.
Wouldn't have guessed
I mean,
that
the
either.
Super Bowl, anybody would
Yeah.
want to do the Super Bowl, right? I mean, I had the pleasure of doing the World Series already, and a lot of them, the Masters and all these, the golf majors. So yeah, the Super Bowl, but the Stanley Cup Final would be great. Hopefully, all the brass at ESPN is watching this and thinking that that's a great idea.
I like that idea.
As I'm becoming more passionate about hockey, I
Yes.
can
It's great.
appreciate that.
It is. There's nothing better.
Okay, fair enough. All right, next one. Which movie broadcaster do you identify with more? Bob Uecker as Harry Doyle in Major League or Jason Bateman as Cotton in Dodgeball?
They were both fantastic. I mean, and from what I'm told, I probably lean toward Uecker just because I know him through the baseball connection. He's been doing the Milwaukee Brewers games for all these years. And I don't know if either one of you have ever met him. I've never met Jason Bateman.
We
I'm
hope
a huge
to.
fan, not just that movie, but his other work too. But Uecker people told me, and I've never asked Uecker, and I should, that a lot of his scenes in those movies, he kind of said to them, let me roll with the script a little bit, kind of let me ad lib and do his own lingo. So from what I'm told, he kind of made it funnier than it might have been.
He
Anyway,
was unbelievable.
he's unbelievably funny, but he's really funny in person too, and a great guy. You know what we talked about when I started doing the Red Sox games when I was 25. The Brewers used to play in Milwaukee County Stadium before their beautiful new Miller Park, and the visiting TV booth was really small enough that you couldn't do the on-camera open in the booth because it was too small to put the camera in. So there was a little catwalk that hung down below the broadcast booths, and you'd have to go out there and tape it, 15 minutes before the game. So, and Uecker's booth was literally right here. I mean, Uecker's almost this far away. So, you can imagine, you're doing it to tape. I was working with a guy named Bob Montgomery. I think Monty was the color man in Major League, and I don't know if that came from my partner Monty or not. I always want to ask Uecker that too. I don't think so. 'Cause my Monty was a lot sharper than the Monty in the movie. But so you'd be sitting there, welcome to County Stadium tonight. The Red Sox Milwaukee Brewers game 1 of a 3-game series. Tonight's game is brought to you by Budweiser and by Pepsi and by blah blah. And Uecker would be. He used to work with Pat Hughes then, who's now the great voice of the Chicago Cubs on radio. And he'd be like, "Hey Pat, does Monty do anything on that telecast down there, or is he just stand there and stare at Sean the whole time? We're loud enough for us to hear him," and a lot of stuff like that. I went into the booth one time to ask him about what a pitcher who was pitching that night for Milwaukee had. What's he have? And he said, well, he's got a average fastball, sinks it a little bit. He's got an okay curveball. He has a gorgeous wife. It's spectacular.
Yeah, let's get to the stuff.
Yeah,
that
right.
matters.
It's
What a legend.
yeah. He's the best and such a nice guy too.
That's
Killed that role.
Yeah,
Oh,
he did.
is there any? You could debate if that's the greatest sports movie of all time.
It's up there.
Without question. Yeah,
but he
it's
was.
in the
he
discussion.
made the movie, right? I mean, the rest of it was pretty good too, but
His role
he
was
was the
he was
standout
10.
for sure.
10.
All right, number 5. Have you ever needed medical attention during a game?
Yes, you cheated.
How do I cheat?
Because first of all, you smirked when you asked me the question. More than once, as a matter of fact.
Well, I know
more
about
than once. When I first started out in Boston at Nesson, as I said, I really started doing college hockey and then other college sports, college soccer, and some local college basketball. But they had me start doing the Red Sox pregame show. When Nesson was first on the air, it was on in 3,000 homes in all of New England. You think about how few that is, right? So you don't know if anybody's watching. But I hosted the pregame show. It's called Red Sox Digest. And the studio was in Fenway Park. It wasn't outside in the park. It was in a building basically attached to Fenway Park, kind of out behind left field. So I would go over, when you're young and you're not making any money, I would go over and have the lunch in the press room, and then I'd come back. I'd already written the script for the show. And so I shaved right before we went on the air, and apparently I cut myself on my chin. So I get up on the set. I've got the script. There's no teleprompter. I mean, there's the most primitive. We had nicer TV cameras in the communication school at Syracuse than this camera I'm looking into. And, put the ear thing in. The stage manager's there. And I said, okay, 30 seconds, Sean, blah, blah, blah. And looking through the script. And there's a red dot on the table. And I said, was somebody having lunch on the set? There's like ketchup or something. And or blood. And Amy Rosenfeld is now a huge executive at ESPN. She was our stage manager. She's like, oh, my God, it's you who's bleeding, right? So I look in the corner of my eye at the monitor, and it wasn't just like, sometimes you cut yourself with just that little. It was a stream that went from here all the way down to my white shirt collar and was, traveling down my collar. It looked like someone had taken a hatchet to me 30 seconds before we were on the air, right? So now 8, 7, like what? It's like, so I am reading super fast and I am skipping things and they're yelling in my ear. The producer director, what are you doing? What are you doing? And you can't answer them on the air. But I want to say, well, if you look in the monitor, I'm bleeding,
gushing
blood, like not just a little dab that nobody was. So that. And then one time during the NCAA tournament, I had the flu. For a couple of days, we were in Minneapolis, was with Bill Raftery and Michelle Tafoya, who was at CBS at the time, was our sideline reporter. And we're doing the Elite Eight, and it's a big game, and I feel like death, I mean, literally. And one of the guys on our crew, I was hoarse and dehydrated. I've been sick. And one of the guys in the crew said, I used to work with Pat Summerall, the late, great Pat Summerall. Let me make you what I used to make for him when he was a little dehydrated for a different reason. And it had all this lemons and stuff in it. I think that exacerbated, sometimes you start burping something that you've ingested and you're like, this might have been worse. And we got to the under 4 media timeout. I kept looking at the clock like, I just want to make it to halftime so I can run somewhere and get sick. And it's still 3:50 to go, whatever. And I said to our producer, like, someone needs to bring me a bucket, or I'm just going to stick my head under this table, or I need to get up. And they had warned Michelle, like, Sean, if he goes down for the count, you need to be ready. So they said, no, just run, go. So I get up. Here comes Michelle. I think she's still mad at me to this day. As a matter of fact, I just talked about this because she lives in Minnesota, and a writer up there did an article about Michelle was really like the first woman to ever do the NCAA tournament because she filled in on play-by-play and one of the team trainers came in at the half and gave me some medicine, said, you'll be able to finish the game. He said, you might feel like crap on the flight home tonight, but this will help you at least get to the end of the game. So yeah,
Elite Eight, no big
and
deal.
then of course Pat O'Brien, I think it was in the studio. Sean McDonough's had to leave. He's taken ill, and now, my friends and family all think, did he have a heart attack?
Yeah.
What happened? But
more of that.
No,
it's not as glamorous as it looks.
Nope. But it's a terrible feeling, right? You're doing the Elite Eight, and you're all fired up to do it, and all you can think about, we've all been that sick where all you can think about is how sick you are. And I probably shouldn't have done the game in the first place, but Michelle did a great job.
Yeah.
Don't puke on the mic. That's a good thought to have as you go out there.
Got it.
All right, next one. You're a Syracuse grad, which is the major sports broadcasting school, as you clarified earlier. Between the two other of the big ones, Northwestern and Maryland, which one brings
Where did you get that list from?
What's that?
Is this the Drew Stoltz rankings?
Yeah, this is pretty.
No, they're both really
Yeah,
good.
Northwestern. I mean, there's a million. They're quick
great.
to tell you on every broadcast, but
Yes,
Northwestern
they are.
and Maryland,
Mike Greenberg, Brent Musburger, Michael Wilbon.
tons of them. I mean, they're everywhere. Oh, all right. Between Northwestern and Maryland, which one brings you more joy when they lose a big game?
You know what? I just don't have that emotion at all.
I knew you were gonna say
Yeah,
that.
I don't care.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
No, I
But
don't.
Deep
I don't.
down,
I mean,
it's
I
probably
don't think-
Northwestern.
I am more, like when Syracuse's rivals lose, maybe I get some joy out of that.
When your colleagues' school that you work with all the time, they lose a big one and don't get to play in the Big Ten championship or whatever it might be, that isn't like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Forget those
See,
guys.
like Chris Collins is a friend, the basketball coach at Northwestern. I like Fitz too. He's a good guy. He's done a fantastic job. They just gave him like a 92-year contract to keep being the coach
Yeah,
because
he's
the
gonna be there a while.
NFL teams were going to start coming there. And same thing about Maryland. I don't harbor any
Ill will.
Yeah, it's
You're
bad
just a
enough
nice
that-
guy.
It's what's that?
You're just a nice guy.
I
You don't
try
wish
to be.
bad on anyone.
I really don't.
I wish bad on a lot of schools.
He does. He hates everyone.
Yeah,
except
really?
pretty much everyone.
Do you have some
Anyone
more
who
than
bets
the others?
against.
See, I would like to interview you guys and ask you tough questions.
Oh, we can do that. We can set that
Oh,
up.
yeah.
No problem.
Okay, what school do
Get
you
a
hate the
real
most?
pro. Which school do we hate the most?
Yeah.
I love seeing Texas lose
Why?
because they run where everyone goes. They get all the recruits. They get all the best
Yeah,
stuff.
but
they
they
got
don't
all the.
ever win.
They got the most money. I know, which
They
is
lost
great
to
right now
Abilene
because
Christian
they're
the
losing.
other night.
Exactly.
It blew up my bracket.
Yeah. Yeah. You
weren't the only
amongst
one.
others.
Do you have a school that you hate?
I mean, I grew up. I was a Texas fan, so I hated Oklahoma
Uh-huh.
and Texas A&M.
Yeah. that's
And everyone else in the state.
See, that's natural. Like when I was in school, the big rivalry was Syracuse Georgetown, and that was in basketball. And that was as heated as it could possibly be. Literally, you just waited until when's the first fight, and not like today where they hold me back. I mean, this was guys really trying to get at each other and throw some haymakers, including the coach.
See, I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
Although I'm
makes
glad that
sports awesome.
Coach Boeheim never got close enough to John Thompson because as much as I love Coach Boeheim, I don't think that would have ended well.
That's a tough matchup.
But Coach would not go down without a fight. I tell you that. He's a feisty
They're
guy.
in different weight classes.
That's
Yes.
awesome. All right, number 7. Was Monday Night Football with John Gruden the first time you had the best hair on the broadcast?
It would have to be, right? It's probably the only time. Yeah, I mean, I looked at, someone sent me a clip the other day of an old Red Sox thing. I had like the worst comb over. Actually, it was not a Red Sox game. It was Raftery and I doing the 1992 NIT final. And Corey Alexander sent it to me, who I just did the ACC tournament with, who was a great player at Virginia. He was in the game. And he was watching on TV, and he took a screenshot of on camera. And I mean, it's like everything. Like if there was a gust of wind, it would have just been strands of hair going this way. And when Gruden's
got to be tough.
when Gruden went to the Raiders, somebody sent me, again, I'm such a non-social media person, but I don't know the difference between like a meme or a GIF or whatever those things
I
are.
don't either.
But it was a picture of John and Mark Davis, and the caption.
It's a good one.
Yeah, the caption said, "The $100 million contract that John Gruden signed with the Raiders is believed to be the largest deal ever between two people who cut their own hair."
Yeah, Mr.
Those
Davis,
two
he's
right
got-
there.
It's not good.
Yeah, with John, I gotta feel like the hair and hair and makeup people come in. There's like, all right, yeah, that's good. That's as good as we're gonna do.
We did not have hair people.
That's as
on
close
the
as
Monday
we're
Night
gonna
Football
get.
broadcast. We had makeup people, but we did not have hair people.
That's awesome.
All right, next one. More intoxicating moment for you: the first time you saw Fenway Park, or the first time you met J-Lo?
Well, I don't remember the first time I saw Fenway Park because I was really, really young. J-Lo for sure.
Yeah, tell us.
Well, there's
Tell me
actually
everything.
two. The first time I met her was, I believe, at Matt Damon's 30th birthday party in New York. And Matt had just made Legend of Bagger Vance. And, yeah, I mean, she came in with a few other really famous people. And She's spectacular. Beautiful. Have you seen her in person?
No, but I have it pretty
Right.
well
His mind,
locked
yes,
into
he
my
has.
brain.
Yeah.
So
What'd she smell
They
like?
hang out a lot.
yeah.
We're familiar.
So now, obviously, fast forward, she's with Ben Affleck. And do you remember the Red Sox-Yankee playoff game when they had the fight and Pedro Martinez threw Don Zimmer on the ground?
Yeah.
And I loved Zim. When I was a kid, Zim was the manager of the Red Sox. My dad and he were friends. Zim was a really, really nice man. So anyway, it was like a 4:00 in the afternoon start, in the fall with the kind of the gray sky and the sun low in the sky. And I met a couple friends of mine at the baseball tavern down the street. There was 4 of us, and it's getting close to game time, so let's walk up the street. So it's only a block or two to Fenway, and there's a Lincoln Navigator or something that's crawling along in the traffic. And we're on the sidewalk, and I hear out of the window, fake Boston accent, "Sean McDonough, you're a wicked hottie." And, and I look over, and it's Affleck. So I walk over and kind of, give him the bro hug through the glass. And Jennifer is sitting next to him, and it looked like Hollywood had spent 24 hours lighting this. It was like the sunroof, the sun perfectly through. She just... So I say to my 3 buddies, "Hey, come over here." And they're all like, "We're good. We've met Ben before." I'm like, no, come over here. So they came over, and I said, "This is Ben. This is Jennifer." Well, for 6 innings, I don't think any of the 3 of them said one word. It was like they were in a trance.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and I think she's. I've met her a few times since. Obviously with Alex Rodriguez doing the Sunday night games. She's traveled around to some of the games that he's done around Major League Baseball, and she seems to be a very nice person too. I certainly don't know her well, but seems to be a nice person. And
She
obviously
seems to be very nice. Yes,
I say
would
everybody's
agree.
nice.
I would agree.
But I'm an easy grader. I like you too.
I envision
Good
her
point.
as a very nice
Yeah.
human.
All right, last one. You're good
Already?
buddies.
Is
Last
this the
one.
longest
This is it.
it's ever taken people to answer 9 questions?
No, we
This is
love
it.
it. That's why you're here.
Your good buddies, Jay Billis and Bill Raftery, are both hanging from the side of a building as you arrive.
Oh, God.
Okay?
I love where this is going already.
They both fall.
Raftery.
They both fall. They both fall at the same time.
Who am I saving?
Who do you try the hardest to catch?
Oh, that is so mean, Colt. Yeah.
So we call it no-win situation.
No, it's a no-win situation. It would be easier to catch Raftery. Billis is a big guy. Oh, gosh. That's like, which one of your children would you save? I mean, they're really
We like
two
to
of
put you
my
in tough spots
best.
here.
Yes, you do. I don't know. It'd be tough. Raftery's probably a little closer to the end than Jay.
That's fair. I thought you would let him drop because I watched.
But he would survive it. God would save Bill Raftery no matter how slim the odds were of him surviving.
I watched a 10-minute video on YouTube where Raftery absolutely abused you.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Oh, when he spoke at my induction into the...
It was incredible.
It was a roast.
I was laughing.
He was supposed
so
to present
hard.
me.
It was great.
It's just the Student Radio Station Hall of Fame, which is a historic station in Syracuse, WAER. So they have a Hall of Fame, so they are putting me in this Hall of Fame.
obviously.
of
So I
course.
asked, and Raf's not even a Syracuse person, right? It's very nice of him. I think it was in the summer to come up and take a day to present me, and I really regretted that I invited him.
You need to watch.
I love it when
Yeah.
you get in the Hall of Fame at Syracuse Radio. It's a roast. It's
It
not
was
like,
a
hey, come up and
complete
say
roast.
something nice. It's like, destroy this
It
guy.
was, and what peeved me was that he used some jokes that I think I had given him in the past.
Oh, he stole.
and turned them
yeah.
on me, which is there's nothing worse than that. But
Using your own material on you.
But I love Raf. I mean, I love Raf. He's the best.
Tough break,
When my
Billis.
phone rings at midnight, I know it's him. Usually you stop. I don't want to say drunk dialing people, but when you're like 22 or whatever, you get out of college, maybe that's not a thing anymore. But a couple of years ago, my phone rang. It was really, really late, but not as late here because we're in Arizona. So it's a basketball coach. So when I answered, I said, well, I don't want to incriminate, but I said, hey, Jay Wright, at this hour of the night.
Hello, Jay Wright.
I said, at this hour of the night, I thought it was going to be Raftery. And he said, who the hell do you think I'm with?
Exactly. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, thank you so
best.
much, my man, for sitting down.
Thank
with us.
you, guys. Always a pleasure. I'm so happy for your success. Surprised by it, but happy for
You're
it.
not alone.
And, no, not surprised. You guys have quite a following now. When we're out here in Arizona, and I think I told you before, when I was on with your radio show one time, some buddies of mine from Boston, like, you know those guys?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's you got a great following, deservedly
yeah.
so. You're fun and you're great at what you do, and you know what you're talking about.
Thank you so much.
And we
And good luck
appreciate
getting
that,
better
man.
guests down the road.
Thank you.
Not
You were a
possible.
blast.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
you,
me.
Shawnee.
My
Thank
pleasure,
you, my man.
guys.
All right, well, that was Sean McDonough on Golf Subpar and Sleaze. I mean, what a career he has had, and obviously it's far from over, but he's been some of the coolest places in sports, called some of the biggest games there is. Really cool to sit down and talk with him.
Yeah, I got into Monday Night Football there for a little bit, but it's called Everything Under the Sun. The most impressive thing, I think, and kind of, we do some broadcasting on radio for golf. You do it on television, things like that. Baseball has so much dead time, and you don't really think about it until you're the guy that's got to fill all that airtime with talking. And doing baseball, coming right out the gates and starting with baseball, I feel like that's got to be the toughest, given there's like a minute in between pitches and you're just like, oh, what a beautiful day we got. You just got to make shit up on the spot just to keep the thing going.
And he does it as well as anybody. It's impressive. I mean, some of the places he's been, Cameron Indoor, calling games at Notre Dame, everywhere, all around. I mean, he's obviously diehard Syracuse, which he bleeds orange.
Yeah, and he's another one of those guys you play a round of golf with them, you're going to get 3 or 4 stories that you never heard before that are awesome. Also, these guys that call so many different sports like he does, their brains and how many stats and just different things they can remember going back. Like you cannot give like a sports trivia question that Sean doesn't have the answer for. It's crazy, like the way they compartmentalize all those different sports.
And I love the fact that he didn't really say it, but I know he believes it. He does have better hair than John Gruden.
Yeah, without question.
100%.
If you don't need, I think, just by default, if you're a breathing human being, bald, flow, whatever, you're probably above him on the standings.
Awesome. Well, that was a blast. Sleaze, let's get to the gambling part. You actually had a good week this week. I'm very impressed.
Don't say it like that. This was coming. I said I had a feeling this was the week, and thank God. The money's so stacked towards the top, so heavily weighted. I was like, if they lose this playoff and I get whatever the second place money was, I was going to lose it. This got me right back in the discussion.
Well, let's tell the listeners what you were trying to pull before, because we were discussing, coming down the stretch, if your team won of Cam Smith and Mark Leishman. Producer Mark asked us, he goes, do we add up both guys' totals?
Correct.
And you said, yes, of course you do. This is a
course.
huge week, which would have valued over $2.1 million. So basically what you're saying is the Zurich Classic is more valuable than the Masters.
No, it was like 1.067 or whatever for the win, and then like 400 and so would have been 1.5 split.
No, 1.3 for first place in a purse as large as the Zurich, and then $800,000
Well, that
for
feels
second
right.
place.
2.1.
So 2.1.
Team guys.
So all of a sudden,
You're
now
using
the Zurich
two
is the
names.
biggest thing.
You're using two guys
you're getting a little ahead of yourself. You're getting a little crazy. That's not how you do it. You made just under $1.1 million for the win. Congratulations to you, but stop trying to cheat the system.
What am I supposed to do? Argue against myself? Like, no, give me whatever the least amount of money it is I can possibly win. That's what I want this week. We used 2 picks. I was trying to get $2 amounts. Add them up.
Well, if
That's logic.
If that was how it was, then this would be the most important term of the year, right behind the players.
I would argue that it should be. It takes a lot of skill to analyze 2 players and then pick the right team.
All right,
It's very difficult.
Congratulations on picking one of the top picks.
Thank you.
All right, producer Mark, did he cut into that lead a little bit?
Yeah, as Sleaze mentioned, it was a very top-heavy payout. So he brought home $1,069,300. And you had that T4 with 2 other teams, but was only good for $209,667, trimming the lead to $803,456 hairs.
Jesus, I was getting my ass. I thought it was closer than that going into the week.
It wasn't.
God, where did I go wrong?
I finished
the match
T4,
play?
guys. It's not like I picked a
No,
bum out there.
but it's still $800,000 difference, and I'm still down 800. I was down 1.6.
Yeah.
That match play killed me. All right, still chipping away.
Well,
We'll get back to the cliches in a minute.
All right, here we go. We're on to the Valspar Championship, Innisbrook
My
golf course, one of the toughest
honor.
golf courses on the PGA Tour. Paul Casey is the 2-time defending champion. This place always used to bitch slap me around. I think I made the cut one year and finished like 70th. It is a hard, great golf course.
Yep, this is a hard golf course, big boy golf course. You don't see the minus 24s and things winning here, so you got to go with the big name. Paul Casey, this is one of those ones like, all right, it's slapping you in the face. You got to pick Paul Casey. He's back-to-back champion. He plays great here. He's come on our show and said he plays great here. You got to pick him. I go against the grain type of a fella. I'm going to go with a guy that plays well on really hard golf courses. Patrick Reed, okay? Good course history here. Lost playoff in 2015 out there. T2 in 2018. If you go back to his last 5 events, Top 25 in 4 of those, including an 8th at the Masters, which is the last time we saw him playing. Putts it and chips it, pretty much like Cam Smith, one of the best on the planet. I'm going to go with Patrick Reed at the Valspar.
Well, it's going to be hard for you to cut into my lead.
Are you picking
I know you're
him
not going to
too?
like this, but I do my research the night before. I figure out who I want, and I'm going to commit to it. This guy, he's lost in a playoff to Jordan Spieth here. He's finished second to Paul Casey a couple years ago. He had a very poor 2019 here. That's all right. He forgets about those things. Patrick Reed's my guy. I have several different pools. I'm not changing for you. Listen, I'm not going to mix it up, and I'm not going to do this one. I have 4 one-and-done pools. I can't change up my lineup and have a different one here and there. I'll get all confused. Patrick Reed's my guy. Sorry, Sleaze.
This is what happens when you get hot, dude. People want to ride the wave. They want to just draft behind you like the Tour de France.
I'm actually worried that Patrick Reed now is going to miss the cut because as cold as you've been all year, I don't want to come down.
Not feeling too cold right now. Patrick Reed. All right, this is the strategy. I knew this would happen. Once I get hot, you can pick the same, and then it gets.
Well, you should be happy because now you get the honor again next week.
Are you going to pick my same guy next week?
I don't know. I'll let you
know. I did my research in the car on the way over.
You don't do any
well
research.
Thought out.
Yeah. As you were late getting
and we
there.
came with the same guy, just a little.
All right. Well, we both got Patrick Reed this week, so probably fade Patrick Reed.
Probably still going to be. Feel like I'm going to be down about 800,000 going into next week.
All right. Exactly. I'm okay with it. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. Next week, another huge guest and a beautiful human being. Tell them who we got.
Adam Thielen. If you don't know, now you know, and you all know he's a star wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings. We got to play some golf with him. Got to sit down and talk with him. Dude, a 10. We always give Mark Moeller shit for being the perfect human being. Like, what do you suck at? Why are you not good? I think Mark may be taking a little slip down the totem pole. Adam Thielen might be bumping up because it's hard to find a flaw in this dude. He's good at golf. He's good at football. He's nice. He's well-spoken. He does all the shit
Great interview. Good-looking. Football. Rich. He does it all.
He was fun to talk to, too. We had a really cool interview. We get into some of his early, how he got to the NFL, which has been told a bunch of times, but then some golf and some other stories, too, that I don't think a lot of people know.
Yep. Check it out on next week's Golf Subpar. Everybody have a great day.